Hello, good day, and welcome back to this tutorial. In this video, we are going to be looking at Python built-in functions, map, filter, and reduce. In our previous video, we were able to learn how to use lambda functions, and in this video, we are going to be integrating it with some built-in functions, map, filter, and reduce. Now, these lambda functions are popularly used with this map, filter, and reduce, but it is not limited to that. So lambda functions are popularly used with this map, filter, and reduce, but map, filter, and reduce are not limited to lambda functions. So now, what are these built-in functions exactly, and why are they so important? Well, they are important and they are handy and helpful because they help you to go over an iterable without writing a for loop. Now, I'm going to explain all of them right one by one, and I'm going to write a few comments on each and every one of them. Now, I'm going to write about map. So map, and then my colon. Map helps you to apply a function to all the iterables at a go. So filter helps you to apply a function to all members of an iterable if they meet a certain condition. So reduce helps you to apply a cumulative action on an iterable. Now, I'm going to explain this a little bit. So we already know what an iterable is. So we have different types of iterable. So you can just say that all the data structures that we have treated before, that they are all iterable, and that's because it contains a collection of data, and that is why they are called iterables. So a list is an iterable, a tuple, a dictionary, and all of that. So now map helps you to apply a function to all the members of the iterable. So let's say you write a function that adds a value to another value, and you want all the members of a list to be added to that value. So map will help you to add all the members of that list to that other value just on a single line of code. So when you want to achieve this on a normal day, you may have to write a for loop that will take you like 2 or 3 lines of code, right? But when you are using the map function, especially when you're using it with the lambda function, you can write all of this in a single line of code and output it immediately. Now, filter also helps you to do the same, but then the members of the iterables will have to meet a certain condition for that function to be applied on them, right? So for instance, when we were treating our control structure, we did something like, for all the items in a list, if so is true, do this. So instead of writing all of that, you just use this filter function on the iterable, and that function will be applied on all the members of the iterable that meets that condition. Okay, so now reduce. Reduce will help you to apply a cumulative action on an iterable. So what do we mean by a cumulative action? Assuming I apply the reduce function on a list of integer or float, and what do I want to do? I want to add all that integer or float. So what will happen when I apply the reduce function on them? Well, the only thing that will happen is that reduce is not going to add 1 plus 1 and give you the result, 2 plus 2 and give you the result. Reduce is going to add 1 to itself. Reduce is going to keep 1 and then add 2 to 1 and then add 3 to the result of addition of 1 and 2, which is 3. So, and at this time, the value is 6. Reduce will now add 4 to 6 and then add 5 to 10 and then add 6 to 15 and so on and so forth. So reduce will give you one value, and that value is a cumulative result of a particular function, right? So if it is an addition or a subtraction or a division, it will just give you the cumulative result of that particular function that performed that operation, right? So that is a brief explanation of how this map, filter, and reduce works. So in this very video, we are going to be working with the map function. So how do we use the map function? First of all, I'm going to write the syntax. So And the syntax is you call the map method by using the keyword map, then you open and close a parenthesis, and you pass in your function. That is the function that you want to apply on all of the iterables, and then you pass in your iterable. Okay, so this is the basic syntax. So now, for now, I'm going to create a simple mapped object, right? So, and I'm going to just create it directly inside the print statement so that the output will come out directly. I will not assign it to any variable yet, right? So I'm going to I'm going to write the map keyword, map, and I'm going to open and close my parenthesis. And the function I'm going to use here, I'm going to write a lambda function directly inside this map statement. So I'm going to write lambda, so lambda x. So remember lambda x, and then we add a colon. So this lambda function is taking just one variable. So what do I want to happen to this variable? I'm going to add this variable to itself. So x plus x, right? So Python understands that you are adding just one particular variable to itself. So now this is the function that I'm going to be using. So now this function is this lambda function. Then I'm going to separate this function and the iterable with comma, and the iterable I'm just going to write a list of 1, 2 to 5. Now, and I'm going to print this directly as it is. So right now, I'm going to comment out all our other print statements. Now, I'm going to save again and run. So we can see map objects as a lengthy string. And this is not what we are expecting, right? So we are expecting that we should get a list, we should get an actual value. So we are saying that that x should be added to x. So if x adds its own value to itself, what should be the result? Now this map function has just given us a string that we do not understand. Now that is how it works. If you want your mapped object to give you the actual list or the actual iterable that you're expecting, then you have to convert this mapped object to the iterable that you're expecting, right? So, and this time around, we're expecting a list. So we are going to convert this to a list object. So, and this time we are going to run this again. So now we have the result that we're expecting. So 1 has been added to 1, 2 has been added to 2, 3 has been added to 3, and 4 and 5. So I hope this makes sense. So now, if I was going to achieve this before, and um, maybe I wanted to use a for loop, so I would have probably written something like for x in, I'll pass in the list, maybe 1, 2, 3, and then I'll write my colon, and I would say maybe something like result is equals x plus x, right? And then I'll print results. So I'm going to save this and run it again. So as you can see, we have the same value, although this time around the output is a bit different. So we have that as our output, and this is what we could have done if we want to add this value to itself, right? But with this map method, we have been able to write just a single line of code that returns this list object for us, right? So I'm going to give us a few more examples, and I'm going to clear this for loop. And this time around, I'm going to create a variable, and also I'm going to create a regular function. I'm not going to use lambda function. I could also use the lambda function to achieve the same thing. So I'm going to do the two. But then for now, I'm going to create a regular function, right? So I'm going to define a function, and I'm going to call it to upper. And I'm going to open and close my parentheses, and I'm going to simply tell it, well, that it should return. But before that, I'm going to pass in my parameter. So I'm expecting an item, so I can just use I, right, as the symbol of the item or the variable for that item that I'm expecting. So I'm going to say return I dot upper. Now this is simply going to return the uppercase of whatever item that is passed into this function. So we already know how to call our function. So if I print to upper and pass in a string, so we know that it's only string variables or string data types that can work with this dot upper method. So, and I pass in something like maybe the name of a fruit, so I can pass in apple and print this. So we can see that this apple has been converted to this. So now we are going to use it in a map object. We are going to call this uppercase underscore case. And I'm going to set it to a map function, and I'm going to pass in this function that I've already written. So I'm going to call to upper. So it is this to upper function that I want to apply to all of the list. So, and here I'm going to have a list of fruits. So again, I'm going to pass in my apple, and also going to pass in my orange and maybe my mango. Okay, so now I'm going to clear this terminal. So now we can see that I just have this map object to this, and the last time we just passed in a map object and the function and the iterable, we got just a mapped address. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that either I print this and convert it to a list in the print statement, right? So I'm going to call the uppercase here. So is this uppercase I'm printing, but in here I'm converting it to the list data type, or I'm going to just write the list constructor here to convert it to a list object. So either ways it works, right? Either ways it works. So I could do this or do that. So anyhow you want to do it, it is up to you. So I'm going to stick to that. And this time around, I can see that all these strings here has been converted to uppercase. Okay, so whatever function you write and you pass in an iterable alongside, it is going to give you the same result. So assuming I also have this outside of this function, so and I'm going to call this maybe fruits, and I'm going to set it to this list. So I'm going to just paste it here, and then I pass in the iterable name here, fruits. So it works the same way, okay? It just works exactly the same way. So I'm going to run this again, and we have the same result, okay? So now, this other function that we have here, we have addition. We have this addition function here, and what this function does is to add b to whatever value that we want, okay? So what do we want to do? We are going to also call this map function and pass in that addition. Remember, it was lambda we used the first time, so we can also just pass in that addition, and I'm going to also write out another list, so maybe number list, and I'm going to set it to a range of value. That range of value should be like maybe from 1 to 10. So I'm just going to pass in 10 here. So we already know how this works, and I'm going to convert this range to a list. So this time around, I'm also going to call the map function on this list alongside that addition method that we created earlier. So I'm going to call it, I'm going to write it directly in a print statement. So I'm doing it in different ways so that you know that you can basically do it your own way. Okay, so you can print it directly, you can decide to store it in a variable depending on what you're planning to achieve, right? So I'm going to write it inside a print statement, and I'm going to say convert to list immediately, and I'm going to write my map function, and I'm going to pass in the addition method that we created earlier, and then I'm going to pass in the number list, right? So just get the basic syntax. So this list or this number list here, I can change it to a tuple. So we can also use a tuple object to achieve this. We can even use a dictionary object to achieve this. I can run this, it will work perfectly fine. So, but because I have a tuple here, I also want to have a tuple output, right? So I can output it as a list. So I'm going to do that, and so that you can see that it will work perfectly fine. So you can see that here, this is a tuple, but the print statement is giving us back a list, right? So, and I can also decide to return this as a tuple. So you just make sure that you are returning an iterable. So this time around, we have a tuple, right? So I hope this makes sense. So that is it for your map function. And in our next video, we are going to be working with our filter function. So see you in the next video.